It's been 11 months since we first worked on Jojo's CV. Joanne Sawe is the success story, our client who we are featuring today. So when we first started, we were working, or rather, we worked on her CV as a customer success CV. So from customer success to project management, Joanne's journey is one that is intriguing and very inspirational, to be honest. She managed to land herself her very first remote role as a project manager without any project management work experience. If you're keen on listening to this story, watch the video till the end because she drops a few gems that each and every job seeker, I think, would definitely benefit from. So without further ado, let's welcome Joanne. Let us welcome Joanne Sawe, or Jojo as I know her. I'm so excited for everyone to just get to learn her story. And maybe one of us is going to learn something, or 1,000 of us are going to learn something from her story. So welcome very much, Joanne. And thank you for, being, making the time for us to record this video and for you to share your story. So do let us know, who is Joanne?
Well, thank you for having me here, Lorraine. I think it's been a few weeks of, missing each other, trying to get this done.
Months, Joanne, months, not a few weeks.
Yeah, but just a quick introduction. Nobody ever likes this question, but just a quick introduction is, who am I? I have no idea. But basically, I am just a girl, Lorraine. I have my background. I studied international business administration at USIU. You are my USIU sister, so yeah. So that's what I studied, and when I was still a student, I started designing jewelry because I've always been a creative person. So I was doing jewelry design, and through my studies, and I was able to make quite a good chunk of money from that. I remember making my first 20, 30,000 from that. And I remember, and at the time, as a student, that was good money. So I was feeling pretty good about it. So after uni, I was able to continue doing that. And, it was a wonderful introduction into the world of making money. I remember even at the time, understanding that to make proper money, I needed to access the global marketplace. So I remember at the time in my jewelry business, getting into global marketplaces like Etsy and those others. And I had a website as well.
Wow.
Excuse me. I had a website, and I understood that I needed to access the global market so I could really, truly make a decent margin, because I understood that the Kenyan market, perhaps, maybe I'm being biased, but I was already experiencing a lot of people haggling with me over the price. And I felt like what I was pricing was underpricing, like how much time I was spending making jewelry.
Yeah.
So I've always been interested in the global work space, if you can call it that, and pretty much making money in dollars, right? But anyway, so even like trying to access the global community at the time, I quickly realized that I was running into like some serious logistical issues. So whether that was shipping, finding a carrier, but not just any carrier, but an affordable carrier. So you can imagine at the time, I think I only knew about DHL. And you can imagine, I think DHL perhaps was charging, I don't know how much. So you can imagine sending a piece of like a pair of earrings or a necklace and spending more on shipping than on the cost of the goods. The items was pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
So that's what happened. So, quickly, I understood I had to pivot, and then I got into freelancing. And so I was doing communications work. And so with my communications work, I wrote a blog for a long time, and I enjoyed writing. And I also had taken a course in graphic design. So I thought perhaps I could do something with those two skills. So I started to do copywriting for companies, small companies. So I would handle, those types of jobs for friends
Mm-hmm.
and networks, as well as designing visuals, for use on their websites or social media. So that was pretty much freelancing life. And just to mention that the entire time, even though I was doing my degree, I was never, ever interested in a 9 to 5. Never, ever. I always knew that was not the life. The life of like wearing those clothes, going to work in the morning. I was never a morning person. I did not do that for sure. So freelancing to speak to me, and I could control my time. I could work at my own hours. And while I was doing that, I also discovered, what do you call it? Platforms such as Freelancer, if you remember.
Yeah.
Freelancer was the place, I think, before Upwork was a thing. So I remember getting onto Freelancer because I needed, as a freelancer, you always need to learn more clients, or that's part of it. Freelancer was not a great experience, actually. I would not recommend it because I remember, being thrown into this world of, applying. I felt like that was not for me. I didn't like this. I'm not a sales girl, I think, is the problem. And I didn't like having to try to convince people of my skills.
Yeah.
So I reverted to just my networks. And so that's what I did for a long time. And then while I was doing that, I think during COVID now, because I'm also a fashion girly in terms of I love clothes.
Yeah.
With nice clothes, like
We can tell from your profile picture. we can tell from the picture.
I mean, yeah, we all have like a little superficial side to us. So during COVID, I discovered this website in the States that was dealing in consignment design and clothing. And I was like, you know what? I would rather wear, because I really wanted to wear better quality clothing,
Yeah.
I was like, I would rather do that than wear the cheap, badly made stuff that we were getting.
Yeah.
So I started to buy that stuff for myself, and then it would get to me, and some of it would work, it would be my size and stuff, but the problems with sizing. So I ended up with a lot of pieces that just I couldn't do anything with because they were either too big or too small. But the quality was pretty fantastic. So at the time I found I found a partner, and we were like, we could really do something with this. And so we decided to start something and, actually make a business out of it. And so with this person, we were able to import our first shipment for more than just myself with a business mindset. And so we were able to start this, online company. And anyway, that's in a nutshell my journey. Did I cut myself short there? But I go on and on and on about it. Yeah.
No, it's actually a really interesting journey, because while you were speaking, I was thinking, we do have a lot in common, Jojo, because I also did IBA in USAU, and I also sold bags and shoes when I was a student. Now, unlike you, I didn't do like proper bookkeeping, so I didn't know how much I was making. All I knew that I would sell a bag and a shoe and get money to buy myself a bag and a shoe and buy the next consignment, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
And for me, what sticks out is that even when back in uni, and I don't know what the timelines are, I was in uni in 2013, right? So even back then, what are your timelines, to put it into perspective?
Oh, when was I at USAU?
Yes.
Graduated in
2015. 14. Okay.
Well, why are you showing my age?
I'm sorry. It's to drive my point home. It's to drive my point home that in 2014, you were already thinking about shipping outside of Kenya. You're thinking global, right? And so I want us to kind of like delve deeper into that. How do you think, or what was the impact of you, one, being a student, an entrepreneur, you thinking globally? How did that translate into the freelance market? I know you said it wasn't the best, right? Because as a freelancer, you constantly have to sell your skills and capabilities. I mean, it's the same thing when you're looking for a job, only that, for freelancing, it is project based. And once a project is done, then you have to start all over again, right? Which just adds on to the stress of you finding a job. So, but how do you think, or how do you suppose that mindset and that exposure, how did it impact your freelance journey?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, if really, like, I have to say, if anybody's watching this who's currently in uni, I highly, highly recommend that you start something. The shoes and the bags, the jewelry, I don't know what else, whether it's subscription, do it. Do it if you can volunteer at Red Cross or I don't know where, wherever you can find, whether it's within the school, the library, it really allows you to have a deeper understanding of how things work in the real world, as opposed to just because when you're joining uni out of high school, honestly, you're very green. You think you know a lot, but you really do not.
And you're a baby, like you're babies when you're joining uni.
Absolutely. So, and especially if you don't really get out of that cocoon of just being a student, then you're really not growing as fast as you could. You're not really getting exposed to the realities of life. So if you can get some sort of exposure that way, absolutely do it. So having had that background, with the global marketplaces, it did help because I think I would say the fact that I was even like focused on listing my services on Freelancer, which was a global platform, wasn't necessarily the norm for the normal person. I think most people would be looking at what is here in Kenya, where I am located. But I always understood that the internet presents such vast opportunities. You cannot, restrict yourself to who you know or where you are in the world if you have access to the internet, whether that's through your phone alone or otherwise.
Right.
So I really understood that I could make more money, meet more clients just by using the internet. And that's what I did. I leveraged the internet. I used Google. I love the internet. I will use Google. And now AI, oh my gosh, it blows my mind. But if you're not using AI, I don't know what to tell you. But it's such a great tool, and the internet presents such opportunities. And even then, I didn't know much, I will admit, but everything that I needed to learn, I would learn. So even when I was writing a blog, I knew nothing about blogging, but like even with that blog, I was able to learn some coding, believe it or not, way back in the day, just by Googling. Whether it's setting up my own website, I was able to do that just by Googling. Whether it's setting up a freelancer profile, I did that by Googling. What to put on my profile, I did that by Googling. Everything is out there.
Right. And I love that. The intentionality behind everything that you've done, and just being very, again, intentional about research, right? Because you have to do the work. But let's fast forward. So it is COVID time and you are running this amazing fashion house business. What drove you to think, I want to have a full-time remote job? What drove you to seeking out our services as BTS?
Yes. So, first of all, economy hit.
It happened. The thing.
Yeah. So just even though I was quite impressed, I think we did make quite some good money running that business. However, I could clearly see the trend and the realities were what they were. And so instead of waiting and holding on to this thing and waiting for what was coming to happen, we just made a very clear decision to, pivot myself anyway. And of course, as you know, I've always known that I honestly, even like fresh out of college, I understood that people were earning something like 30,000 all. You have a degree And I was just like, no, this is not for me.
Yeah.
30,000? No.
Yeah.
And you're working all day, you're doing a lot of work. So I always knew the work, I mean, the money here was just not speaking to me. So I always knew that remote work was something that I would consider doing a 9 to 5 because it would be worth my time and the effort. So I've always been a YouTube watcher, and not just for entertainment, but like also for research. So for a long time, I've been, seeking out information, remote opportunities, online working opportunities, and actually that's how I got your video recommended to me because already my algo was was very remote work focused, and so I knew this is the direction that I wanted to go. I wanted to find something instead of doing the freelancer thing. I think it made more sense for me to just find somebody to work for and not have to worry about placing gig. Yeah.
Awesome. So Joanne, I remember when we first met, right? That must have been what, 12 months back, right? Is it?
I think it was August.
It was August. Oh, so you're coming into a year. Okay, so about 11 months back, right? And if I remember correctly, when we had the conversation, of course, we picked up that you are an entrepreneur and some of the transferable skills that were easier was to try and get into customer success. So I remember, if I remember correctly, we worked on your CV and we centered it around customer success, customer experience, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And I think that entire for us to work on your CV might have taken like a week and a half, and you started sending out applications, but then you also took a break. But then, dude, let us know how has that journey been? From you sending out applications, for us working together, to you sending out your applications until the point where you currently have a job. Paint us a picture. How was that?
Yeah. So I remember. I think I watched your video perhaps around this time last year. And then I binge watched like a bunch of your videos. And then I think you were having a sale.
Yeah.
And I was like, because the entire time I was like, wow, should I? Right? And then you were having a sale. I was like, okay, this is my sign. I need to get my CV revamped with this lovely lady. And so that's when I reached out. I remember actually I was on my way to the airport because I was traveling that very day, and I was like, I have to do this right now. So, and I remember telling you, I need help. I need help with my CV. I need you to hold my hand. And you were like, yes. And I was telling you, I cannot send you my details right now, but I will do it in maybe when I get back. And so when I got back, I sent you my very bare bones CV, and you were able to work on it. That was August of last year. And then you sent me the revamped CV, and it happened that something happened and I couldn't do anything for a while. So for a few months, I just sat on it. So then I traveled towards the end of the year, and by the time I came back, so in January, I spent January of this year understanding, because remember you gave me some homework to study, do some courses and all these things. So I was like, okay, January, when I came back, I was very clear that I needed to just put my head down and study, and that's what I did. So all of January, I was literally studying every single day, all day.
Yeah.
Right? Because I understood that I was competing with a global,
market. Yeah.
So I was studying, and so when I got to a point where I felt like, okay, I've done all the bits that you've given me, whether that's the project management, the stakeholder engagement, I've done all that, and when I felt I'd done it, so I reached out to you because I had paid for the CV and the LinkedIn organization. So then I reached out to you at the very end of January. I believe it was literally the 30th or 31st of January. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get my LinkedIn done now. And so reached out to you, and I was able to get my LinkedIn. So that's when I started applying. So I would say towards the end of February or mid to end of February. That's when I started applying. And I had my first interview, I believe, end of February or beginning of March. And that process lasted a month. It didn't work out. I had like how many rounds? I made it to the final round. In the end, I think they said that I was overqualified for the role, which kind of annoyed the hell out of me.
Absolutely.
Because why did you waste my time? My qualifications have been what they are.
Yeah.
So you should have figured that out in the beginning, you know. But I understood, and it was a great learning experience, just being exposed to that interview experience. And, you know, so going forward, I knew what to expect. And so then I took a break, by the way, because that KO was like so like I was like, good break. I did not expect that injection would hurt so much. But I took maybe 1.5 or 2 weeks. And then I started to apply again, and that happened very quickly. I got another introduction, and that's where I am now. So that process also took another month. So in total, because again, the recruitment agency, they didn't allow me to apply for other roles. So they were like, if you were engaged with this one company, you have to focus on them. So each one took 1 full month. So that's what happened, yeah.
Oh, you know what I love about your story, Jojo, is that the intentionality, like there are results behind the work that you've put in. So there are a number of, and I don't know why. So part of the reason is let's rephrase, right? When you work with BTS, 100% you're going to leave, you know, one of our calls with homework to do. And it's not usually, it's not like, you know, something that you can do within a week or something, right? Like you do have to put in the work for you to position yourself and, you know, for you to be competitive in the global market, right? Now, what we do is that we would include those courses on your CV as if you have completed them, or even on your LinkedIn, we'd just indicate done, right? And I'm so glad that you did take the time to do the courses because another client of ours, again, I don't know if I've told this story before, but we did give them, you know, a number of courses to do. She's a project manager, and part of the courses the courses that we had told her to do was a data analytics course, which, by the way, any single person who's looking to work remotely or even otherwise should be able to do that, right? And how we structured her CV was she was a project manager with data analytics expertise. So when she got a job, it was based off of her data analytics expertise. Of course, project management as well, right? And then happens, you know, like 2 months in, one of the areas that she indicated as a growth area was what? Data analytics. And so the recruiter felt, and the company felt cheated because she was hired based off of what was on her CV.
Right.
And then for her to indicate that as an area of growth, right? So I am so glad, and that's why I'm saying that I'm so glad that you did take it seriously and you did put in the work. And
sure.
I don't know, like what? Your story is quite unique because how many applications do you suppose you sent out when you started being intentional about it? Because to me, it sounds like 2 months in, with you being intentional, you were able to find something.
Yeah, honestly, because I got engaged in an interview process quite early on. I think 1.5 weeks in, it must have been, or maybe 2 at the most. But I honestly didn't send in that many applications. And if I was sending in a lot of applications, it was because the recruitment agency would advertise a position and have like several of that same position listed in different listings. So I was like, I don't know which one applies to me, so I'd apply to the same position 5 times, right? But I honestly did not. What I will say is this, because after that first process, I became kind of frustrated because I felt like it wasn't a very efficient way to go about this, because being stuck with one company not being allowed to apply for other positions, I did not want to find myself 12 months down the line still applying, having interviewed with 12 companies, because it's averaging 1 month at this point. So I understood that I needed to broaden my, what do you call it? Just explore other options.
Yeah.
And so I started to explore other remote work websites. And so I remember I loved Wellcome. There was another company that I wasn't, actively engaged in while I was interviewing with my current position. And I was going through the process. I remember I had made it in a short list. So I was going through that process, which was kind of interesting. But as far as how many, I don't have the number, but I would say it's no more than 50. But that would be also misleading because there was a lot of duplicates within this. I don't think it's even 40, but there's a lot of duplicates. But I will say that I also understood that the remote work space is very much a numbers game. However, it also helps for people to apply strategically as opposed to just shooting in the dark. Like I honestly would not encourage people to, I don't know what, maybe you would disagree, but I do not think it's a good use of time for people to apply just randomly, just hoping something sticks. Because again, it's quite important for people to tailor their CVs. Like even when you're applying for the same exact role, so like say whether it's project management, one company's project management position might look very different from another company's project management position.
True.
So you really do have to tailor, whether that means you have one project management CV, but you also have to tailor to the specific role that you're applying to.
No, I actually do agree because especially for the people who want to tailor, what you usually tell them is get into the habit, or just any job seeker, like get into the habit of reading the job advert. There's a lot of learning that happens when you go through a job advert, and chances are the questions are going to come from there, right? There's a lot of information that is on the job advert that if you're able to, retrieve or just understand what exactly they're looking for, you're able to curate yourself and position yourself to that job. But then I also want us to dive a little bit deeper, Jojo, on the hiring process, right? What are some of so your current role, what is that? Because like I said, we worked on your CV to be more of customer service, customer success. What is your current title? And walk us through the interview process or the hiring process.
Yeah, so it was kind of an interesting journey because, as we said, so I really didn't want to do customer service, but I was willing to do customer success because I understood that where I could go. And I also had an interest in getting into, like non-coding tech roles, right? So anyways, so yeah, I would tailor my CV. So you did an excellent job with my CV. However, I also understood that I would have to tailor it based on whatever I was applying to. So how was the process? I remember having applied for that first one that I mentioned earlier, and then it didn't work out. So I happened to be working with a really fantastic team at the recruitment agency. The recruiter and her assistant were just absolutely fantastic. So they reached out, the recruitment assistant reached out and said, well, if you're available, you're still available, I think your resume really is a great fit for this role that we currently are working on. And if you're interested, I would love to share your resume with the client. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, share it with them. So that's what happened. And I was able to schedule our recruiter screen. And so I did that. And the recruiter she was fantastic. And she asked very hard, like difficult questions. But I have a lot of admiration and respect for her and her assistant because they really advocated for me. And I felt very supported throughout the process, even when I was feeling like a little impatient and they really were like, you know what, patience, trust us, patience, right? Find the right role for you. And so I really took that to heart. And so they did that, and sure enough, less than a week later, they sent an intro email with the client, and of course, the client did not write back until a week later. And so the entire week, you can imagine, 7 days when you're applying for a role.
I know. I can imagine. Yeah.
It's taking forever. So the entire time, I've already convinced myself, okay, it's not for me. He's already found somebody who's perfect, and he's moved on. And so I'm like, oh, dude. And then, to make it worse, they wouldn't allow me to apply because the entire time other roles being posted. And like, this would be a perfect role for me. I would love to apply. And they're not, they're like, no, right? So it's very hard. But thankfully, he reached out sometime in the future, and he's like, I'd love to schedule an interview with you. And so they introduced me to the company, and I was able to, interview with them. And it was a very quick, brief interview, I think 30 minutes, which was a shock to me, being that the previous experience that I had, they lasted an hour, a full hour, and it was like 4 of them. 4 interviews.
Whoa.
Lasting an hour.
So wait, 4 interviews, an hour each? So basically 4 hours? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like different times, but yes.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was crazy. And I was like, this is such a junior role, and you're doing all this? What do you do for anyway, so that's what happened. So this was just 30 minutes, and I met my boss and his EA, and it was 30 minutes. And, getting out of the interview, I was very anxious. I was very nervous. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen there, because I didn't feel very confident, to be honest, because I felt I could have done better. And, I don't know what would happen. So I wasn't feeling very confident. And I remember telling somebody, oh, gosh, I need to keep applying. And so the guy didn't. He said he would make his decision by the following week. The following week came, and he didn't, nothing. I heard nothing. And I was like, oh, God. I already know. You don't need to tell me.
Yeah.
It's fine, right? And then I remember the recruiter's assistant reaching out, not the following week, now the second week after. And she was asking me whether my boss had reached out. I'm like, no, but thanks for reminding me that I was rejected. And then she's like, oh, no, we're going to reach out to them and see what happened there. And then she writes back and tells me that the client has, said he's going to get in touch with me sometime this week. And I'm like, why does he need to get in touch with me to tell me I'm rejected?
Like, why the torture?
Like, he could spare me. But I was like, okay, if I need to be rejected officially, so be it. So, sure enough, the following day, I checked my email, and there was my offer letter. And he was like, we interviewed several candidates, and you were the clear choice. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh,
that's how it happened.
That's amazing, Jojo. That's amazing. And I think for anyone, what I picked on when you're talking was that, first of all, you felt like you aren't the perfect fit for this particular role, right? But then you felt like you were the perfect fit for the previous role that you got rejected for. And it just reminded me that, we've got studies show that women actually only send out applications when they feel like they are 80 to 100% sure that they can do the job, as opposed to our male counterparts who send out applications when they're like 40%, right? So it is such a funny phenomenon. Yeah. And, when you're talking about, you felt like, you didn't perform perfectly in the interview. Sometimes I see that a lot of candidates just close their doors on themselves. And how I operate is, even if I'm qualified, like 40%, I'm still going to send out my application. The worst that they can do is to send me a regret. But what I will not do is to close that door on myself. let the responsibility be on the company or be on the recruiter, not on myself. So I loved, yeah,
That's right.
completely
Absolutely.
loved the experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also would like to add that it was an interesting phenomenon what happened in my case because I didn't have a project management experience,
Right. Yeah.
and
Aside from the course that you did.
Outside of the courses I did, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I can bet you there were project managers, people with project management experience who were interviewed for this role.
Yeah.
But yet I was selected for the role. So I would like to say there's something just to be said about upskilling, number one, but also being able to translate what you're capable of doing. And also, so your personality counts, your upskilling counts, but also I think communication is an undersold skill in terms of your ability. I think the fact is we live in a world where sales is a currency, being able to actually communicate well enough to convince you that what you need me to do, I can do. So even though I've never done before, I haven't worked on this, never been president before, for example, but I can be president, you know? So really, sales skills. Yeah. And to be good at sales, you need to be a good communicator. And so it's worth learning these soft skills that we often hear people talking about. Learning everything you can learn for free. You don't need to pay anybody to teach you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, or negotiation, or yeah, exactly.
We're having a live this week, I think, and we're talking about interviewing skills, right? And for me, the number one thing, if anyone is going to leave this video with, is in an interview, or even as you're positioning yourself in terms of your CV, demonstrate to the recruiter that you're the person to do the job. And I haven't come across, right? I haven't come across any job advert that doesn't say excellent communication skills, whether it is written or verbal. The communication skills is always there. And even more so, right? And even more so if the company is going to be working asynchronously. Number one.
Absolutely. Communication is the one thing that's always going to be a factor. In whatever role, guess what? If you are the best, God knows, what could you be? You're the best, I don't know what you could be. But if you cannot communicate what you can do, how do I know?
Right.
It's going to be hard for me to hire you because I don't know whether, I don't know. You have to somehow let me know. And also, I need to, because everything is communication, I need to know that I can be able to communicate with you because communication is two-way. Yeah. So I can tell you, but you also need to communicate back.
Yeah.
And so you really, you have to really be a strong communicator if you're going to work remotely, for sure. And anything, really. Yeah.
Right? Love that. Now, 2 months into the job, wait, can we talk about money? Please say yes. How much are you currently earning? You can give us a range.
Girl.
Please say yes. As a project manager, the range, please.
I don't know about a range because I don't need my business to be out there, but I can tell you, what I'm making now is almost double what I would have made in that first position. So.
Ooh, that's really good. That's really, really good. Now, for context, if anyone is watching this and you want to know how much Jojo earns, just Google entry level customer, like junior customer success role, and they'll double that amount. I kind of know how much, but yeah, we're not going to discuss how business. But that's amazing, Jojo. That's amazing, considering you were so heartbroken when you didn't get the other junior customer success role. That's okay. So 2 months in, what are some of your biggest learnings? Like, what do you appreciate about landing a project management remote role?
What do I appreciate? Number one, my boss is fantastic. Like I got so lucky because the truth is, like, this is something that's perhaps not talked about enough,
Mhm.
but you can work remotely and still land a really weird boss.
Yeah.
You know? So I got really lucky. My boss is very, very approachable, very kind, and, he's a great communicator, and, I feel like everything has been very seamless,
Mhm.
and we're a very small, group or team. So I'm lucky in that sense. And I've also had the chance, I was given the time to learn everything I needed to learn, because they understood that I haven't worked as a product manager, and they were willing to give me the time to learn, like, Basecamp, for example. Like, I had learned different software or tools in project management. I think I've done Asana and Trello. I love Trello and Monday.
Mhm.
So those were my tools, but they happened to use Basecamp, and they were like, okay, we're going to give you this much time, do all the learning that you can. And I got that time. And I can tell you, like, my first day, oh my gosh. So my first day,
Uh-huh.
so I remember, so the week before I was to start the job, he had communicated with me via an email and said, okay, so this is your start date. I'm going to send you information, like, regarding your new account, and once you get access, I'm going to send you all those details. And once you get into that account, you're going to get a whole bunch of information, right?
Uh-huh.
So Friday came, it passed, because we were to have a meeting on Monday, like at 10 a.m.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
So Monday came around, I still haven't got the information. However, I did get an email from Google Workspace prompting me to create a password for my new Google account.
Okay.
But then I was like, should I do this? Because he said explicitly that he's going to send me my login details. And I remember literally copy-pasting his email onto ChatGPT and asking ChatGPT to tell me what this means. What is it?
No, Jojo, not you.
I literally, because I was like, I don't know what to do.
Did you doubt your comprehension for a minute?
I did, because I was like, he said he would send me the details,
Uh-huh.
credentials, and maybe I don't know what to do. So ChatGPT told me, it sounds like your boss is telling you he will give you your login credentials. And I wouldn't, it said this, I wouldn't create my own password without checking in. That's what the freaking thing said. So Monday came around, and the time is inching closer to our meeting time. I still don't have my new account. I still don't have the information. Keep in mind, I told him I will be able to look into all the information before our meeting, all this. I still don't have anything. Right? So eventually, I sent the email Monday morning before they even start their work day. And I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do. Do you want me to, yeah, I lost you there. So I'm like, I sent you an email, and I'm like, would you like me to actually, like, log in, create a password? So I unfortunately, by the time the password link had already expired.
Ooh.
To my horror, right?
Yeah.
And so I was essentially locked out of my account. So I couldn't really log in. And at the same time, I'm required to attend this meeting.
Yeah.
And there's a whole agenda for the meeting where the details are in that new email.
Ooh.
My goodness.
And you're expected to participate. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I was saying, and you're expected to participate in the meeting, right? Yeah, to contribute.
Yeah, because it was essentially an onboarding meeting. It was the first meeting, and anyways. So I was locked out of my account. So I had to attend the meeting just totally blank, with no context. I don't know what to expect. And then after the meeting, I'm trying to get into my account because I'm locked out. So thankfully, his EA was able to come to rescue, and she was able to send me a new password, and I was able to now start catching up. But I have to tell you, that first day was very challenging because there was a lot. I felt very overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I was like, for a minute, I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to actually deliver?
Yeah.
On all this, and I started doubting myself. But then I remember telling myself, you know what, it's a new role, it's a new job, it's a new environment. Everything that they're doing, they also have to learn, and I can learn too. And so that's how I was get through that first day. And I also will mention that because we have two cats, and the cat happened to be in my room, and right when we were having that first meeting, they decided to have an episode. It wasn't just a small episode. It was crazy. They were fighting like it was a proper cat fight. Can you imagine? Oh my gosh, I was horrified. Like I literally thought I would lose my job that first day. Yeah, thankfully my boss was very understanding, and he's like, these things happen. Yeah. So far I've been able to learn everything, all the new tools that we're using, and yeah, so far so good.
Yeah, I mean, your story. I was laughing so hard because it reminded me of my first day or my first week at Superside, and it was the first time I was learning about Slack, and it was the first time we were doing so many things, and I think we were onboarded. Was it like 70 people? And we had like designers on there. We were doing several activities. It was so hectic for me, being a non-techie. And but what I will say is, be the first one to raise your hand. Yeah. I wish someone had told me that when I was joining my first remote role, is that whenever you feel stuck or whenever you feel like not overwhelmed particular, but if you don't know something, be the first one to raise your hand. You'd be surprised as to how willing how willing they are to give you time and grace to learn. As long as you know you're the first one to raise your hand and be like, I'm not sure what this is, so please help.
Exactly.
And then you deliver, because that's all they want, right? Yeah.
Like there's nothing worse than pretending you know something and saying yes, you can do it, and then you can't. You don't know what you're doing.
Absolutely. Like Trajulia Ukombele, the Kenyan phrase Trajulia Ukombele will not work in the remote setting. Please raise your hand.
Raise your hand, ask the question, and just set yourself up for it, because you want this to be a long-term thing. You don't want to find yourself being fired because you're lying, for example.
Yeah.
Or you're over-promising, under-delivering. No. Just ask what you ask. There's nothing wrong with asking. There's no shame in asking. They also know you're new to this environment. And for many of them, they're also new in terms of the remote learning.
Right. And just managing remote teams as well. So they do grant, there's a lot of grace that goes on in the remote space.
For sure.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Parting shots, Jojo. What would you tell someone who is currently looking for a remote opportunity, and they are, we are approaching September's hiring surge, right? And perhaps they're thinking, I'm going to get this role in the next week or in the next month, or just any job seeker. What would you tell them?
I would say, number one, be ready. Do what you need to do.
Yeah.
I will say, do the work. Like it's not easy, but you need to do it. Like you need to be clear in your head. Like be honest with yourself. Look at your CV, your resume, and look at the gaps. Decide where you want to go. Decide where you can start. If you want to start somewhere, be very honest with yourself and do the work. And there's a lot of resources online, whether that's YouTube or EDX. There's a lot of free courses, even like from very renowned universities. They have a lot of free courses on their own websites that you can access for free. So do the work. Look at the job description. Do not be afraid of rejection. Do not be afraid of rejection, because I know it's not fun. Nobody likes it.
Yeah.
But it's just part of the process. You have to just come to terms with it and understand that sometimes it's not about you, because sometimes, there's something to be said about timing. Sometimes it's just that, I don't know what it is. Some things are inexplicable, but it's not always personal. It's not always about you. It could be that the next person was able to communicate better, which is not necessarily a reflection of what you can do.
Yeah.
But believe in yourself. Do not let anybody discourage you. Do not let one or two no's discourage you. Just keep going, believe in yourself, and go for it. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And for me, my mantra has always been everything works out in my favor. Whether I get, that rejection, or you get that role, or that contract lands in, every single thing works out in my favor. And so, yeah, I think when you kind of move with that, it becomes less burdening, and you're like, okay, on to the next one, and let's see where it all lands, right? Because that's all that there is within your control. Otherwise, it can get really daunting. Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, like, I also want to say, because there's a lot of commentary, if I can call it that, in the remote landscape about people just applying to thousands of jobs and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said about planning and applying strategically, as opposed to just throwing spaghetti on the wall and hoping something sticks.
Yeah.
Be very strategic. Start with a plan and then work your way from there. Like, don't go into this super blindly, just hope. Like, truly, it helps to plan. You save a lot of time and energy. Yeah. So
Awesome. Well, everyone, that has been Joan, Sarah, or Jojo. Yeah, thank you so much, Joan, for sharing your very, very interesting and inspiring story. Do let us know in the comment section, what is your one takeaway from this video? Yeah, what is your one takeaway from this video? And if you have questions for Jojo, also leave them in the comment section. We will ask her to respond. Yeah. So thank you, Joan.
thank you.
Awesome, cool. If you're finding our content to be educational and inspirational, why don't you go ahead and click that notification bell, subscribe, and also leave us a comment, because we'd love to hear from you. I do appreciate feedback, and you communicating and leaving comments is a way of you communicating to me or giving me feedback. So yeah, go ahead and do so.